Hello everyone, my name is Melissa Tosetti.
And I'm Kevin Gibbons.
And we've started our show a few minutes early to give people some time to log in and join us. So we consider this our pre-show.
Yeah, we're our own warm-up act.
Yes, exactly.
Can't afford to have an opening act yet, but we'll let you know.
We haven't made it a priority yet.
Much better.
So in a few minutes, at the top of the hour, we are going to be talking about the power of a monkey list. But in the meantime, for our pre-show, I actually wanted to tell you about two experiences I had yesterday in taking my family, Paul, my son Dante, 12 years old, and myself to Great America. We live about a half hour from Great America, and I have not been there in, I think it was 40 years.
Yeah, it's been quite a few months. So Great America is one of the Bay Area's amusement parks. So lots of roller coaster rides and things like that. It's a very typical amusement park.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to mention is that Great America has this thing where they offer discount tickets on Wednesdays. They're seasonal, so they're only open for the summer months, spring and summer months. And on Wednesdays in a certain time frame, you get tickets for $29, and tickets are normally $79. So by being willing to take the day off, thank you very much for yesterday, I managed to save us $150 off of our tickets. And the beauty of it is that we pull into the parking lot like 10 minutes early before they open. There were 15 cars in the parking lot. And we walked in. They let us in early. We were actually on the carousel, the very famous two-story carousel, before the park even opened.
Oh, wow.
So that was a fun experience. The park was clean. It was very beautiful. We really did have a very good time. But about 3/4 of the way through our trip, Dante was starting to fade because it was warm and he was tired. But he made a comment to us that was very surprising. He said, it's different here. It's an amusement park. It's not like Disneyland, which he's been to, I think, 3 times in his 12 years. Whereas Disneyland, like every roller coaster has a theme, like the Matterhorn. He loves the Matterhorn, right, with the abominable snowman and everything.
It's the immersion difference.
It's the immersion difference. And he, at 12 years old, was able to articulate that he actually missed that aspect of it. And so we're going along. It was maybe about an hour later. And I made a comment, because we were talking about different amusement parks that he had been to. So he's been to Legoland, Disneyland a couple times, Dollywood, which is awesome, and Universal. And I made a comment, I said, just to kind of round out, maybe next year we can go to Six Flags, which is about an hour from where we live. And I said, it's kind of like Great America, where it's an amusement park rather than a theme park. And he thought about it for a second. He's like, Mom, I'd rather us wait until we could go to Disneyland again. And that ability at 12 years old to spend Mom's money purposefully, but he's always just been innately savvy. Again, I don't know where he gets that from, because I was not that person. I worked very hard to become savvy. I was just so very blown away by, hey, you want to go to Six Flags? Nah.
I'd rather wait for the experience.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was very blown away. It was a lesson for me again, because you're talking about time and money. He knows that we are very purposeful in what it is that we do, and we pick and choose, and he decided what he wants. So
yeah, I think that it really is interesting that he recognized that, and it's also very enlightening as to why it costs $79 to go to Great America and like $130 or something for Disneyland.
Yes,
you pay for that experience.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to what experience do you want to have, and you don't. It may be unreasonable to go to both places, but saying I'd rather save the money and go to the immersion experience. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of him. The other thing I didn't tell you yet is that we got stuck on the buckets ride for about 10 minutes.
Oh. To
the point where I thought, because although we took the day off from the Savvy Life, my husband, we had to teach at his martial arts school that night, and it's about 12:30, and I'm looking at my phone, and I'm scared of heights. So I'll go on the ride, and I'm okay as long as it's moving. But after about 10 minutes, I'm okay. My husband's trying to talk to me he's being very sweet about trying to distract me, and I could tell that by the pattern of conversation what he was trying to do, but he kept talking with his hands.
And making like this way. So stop helping me.
Please, I really appreciate it. Stop doing that. And I thanked him at the time. is what I love. My husband is a very big, grand personality, but he is very sweet in that he knew I was uncomfortable. I wasn't crawling out of my skin uncomfortable, but that was not one of my favorite moments of my life. And he could have like screwed around and made the bucket move and everything, but that was not. He wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay, and it started moving again, and I might have squealed a little bit, but it started to shift.
So that it's time for us to start a real presentation, so we'll move on to that. But that's one of the things that I like about your husband Paul and many people in our group is we will mess with people and poke and stuff when it is not serious.
Yeah.
We will tease mercilessly when it is not serious, but when people are really uncomfortable, we support them. And Paul is very good about that. Given the circumstance, he'll poke any bear that he possibly can, but when it really matters, he's considerate.
Yeah, very much so.
That's a nice kid.
Yeah. So that was my day off from the Savvy Life yesterday. It was fun. It was good. It was really nice. It was a nice break. So if you are just joining us, we are officially starting our session today. My name is Melissa Tosetti, and I am the founder of the Savvy Life.
And I'm Kevin Gibbons, and I'm a vice president and cash flow planner at the Savvy Life.
And what the Savvy Life is, if you're joining us for the first time, it is the name of our business, but it's also this concept of building and creating a strong financial foundation while enjoying the journey. And doing that simply by being very purposeful with how you spend your time and how you spend your money. And we do sessions like this, we write about the concept, but a big part of our days is actually working one-on-one with individuals and families to help them to, create spending plans, and then teaching them how to actually put that plan into play within their lives. So that's what it is that we do.
Yeah.
Based on the nature of the spending plans is one thing, right? So that's making the numbers work within a person's certain amount of income and the expenses that they have, the spending that they want to do. The witchcraft and the magic of what it is that we do is truly, if you want to make changes, how do you do that? So for the last really 8-10 years, a huge part of our work is actually working within human nature and working within, when I say about being purposeful with time and money, we talk a lot about time.
Yeah. And digging down and finding out what really motivates people, trying to identify, if you want to make a change, one of the things that we often say is you have to find out what the carrot is, the carrot. So it's what is going to motivate that person to change their behavior, and it has to be something that's in a relative short term, because we're wired for fairly immediate gratification. It's very difficult for people to get excited about saving money so that 40 years from now they'll have a good retirement. Exactly. So you need to do things like, okay, we're going to go ahead and set something up where we're saving money for that 40-year retirement, but while we're doing it, we're also saving money so that in 3 months you can go to Disneyland or something. So that so that people have some goal that's interesting to them that is in a relatively short time frame, and understanding what really motivates people and what's going to help them make the changes that they need to make and stick with them. That's a pretty big part of what we do.
I worked with clients in Georgia on Tuesday, and one of the things we were talking about, it was a third meeting that I had with them, and we were talking about planning, we were talking about the implementation of the plan, and there were a couple of things that he had wanted to do before this particular meeting that we had, and he was embarrassed because he did not execute. And he said, I've had all this time, I didn't do it. I said, well, first of all, you're human. Congratulations. And number two, it's this, we work in this concept of carrot, and I came up with a new term that I'm very proud of, and that is carrot or consequence.
Okay.
I love alliteration.
Right.
Now, we are very much, the way that we look at money and the way that we look at interaction is more from a carrot perspective. I do not like the idea of beating somebody up. But sometimes there needs to be some kind of consequence if you find that the carrot's not enough.
Yep.
And we talked out some ideas to get him nudged. And one of the things that we did was we actually created the list of what he wants to execute. And then we have a meeting scheduled for, I think, about 5 weeks out, and that deadline.
Yep.
And there's something about you might be willing to disappoint yourself, but if you are accountable to somebody, which we talked about last week.
Very big part of what we do.
That's something different. And again, I'm not going to beat him up if he doesn't do the things in our next meeting.
Yeah.
But what I am going to do is find out why that didn't happen.
Well, and you don't need to
resolve.
You don't need to, because if you conduct yourself professionally, he is not going to want to embarrass himself in front of a professional and say, well, Melissa is very professional. She always meets her obligations. She's got her act together, and I didn't. You have that aspiration to be at least as good as the people, as your peers or as the people that you're interacting with. So, accountability is a huge motivator. Yeah. But you said something earlier that leads right into what we're talking about here, and that was that you had a list of things that they were going to work on. They could kind of that segue. So the topic for this week's session is the monkey list. And you gave a little bit of a teaser for people that were tuned in last week. But for new people, why don't you go ahead and explain what a monkey list is?
I like money list.
Yeah, what's a monkey list? Yeah.
Which would be a spending plan, so we already do that. So a monkey list is simply a list, actually taking pen to paper or fingers to laptop, of the things that are bothering you, the things that are weighing you down. It's that idea of, the monkeys on your back. And this is something that I did kind of organically, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. I kept getting weighed down by things. You can go about your days, and there might be something you're like, oh God, I keep meaning to do that, or I keep meaning to do that. And then you hit a point, and I had hit this point where I feel like I'm walking in mud. I'm just weighed down by everything. And at those moments, and it really does actually help if you're not in your normal environment, where you just sit down and you create the list. What is it that's bothering me? And you might be able to identify 80% of them in one sitting, but then what you're doing is you're having to listen for the other things. It's hard to listen to yourself, but listening for, oh God, I keep meaning to get, for example, the one thing that's still on my monkey list, the rear view mirror on my car is duct taped right now. It's black duct tape, which matches my car. But it got knocked up, and I just have not taken the time to do it. It looks awful. I hate it. But it isn't until I'm in my car that I notice it, and then I come in and I haven't made the call to my insurance agent to get it taken care of. That's on my monkey list, to give you an idea. Yeah. So
all the things that build up, and like you said, you feel like you're trudging through quicksand because there's all these things that you need to get done, and you're not getting done. And what I find is that it discourages you from adding new things to your list. It's like I just have a subconscious resistance to add one more thing on my list, even if that one thing is really important and can be done very quickly. There's this huge backlog. My buffer is full. All right, and so I need to, from computer terms, I need to flesh out the buffer so I can put new stuff in. And what we're really talking about here is identifying what is in that buffer and how we can go about fleshing it out.
And why are we having a conversation about our to-do lists with people that are professionals around money? Because so many of those things on your monkey list are likely money-oriented. So, for example, on my list, I had fixing the mirror on my car, I had getting oil changes in both of our cars, I had changing the battery in our phones. So it wasn't, a lot of that was actually about spending money. But if I spend the money and get the battery replaced on my phone before that battery is no longer available, I just saved myself $500 to $800 about having to replace my phone now.
And all the time and anxiety of, man, I better replace my phone right now because I can't be without my phone for 3 or 4 days. Whereas you were able to, at some point, schedule replacing the battery and do it in the normal flow.
In my timeline versus, if, for those of you that joined us a couple weeks ago, much of this was brought on by something that was on that never got on my monkey list, that should have been right at the top with highlighted and in bold and underlined with a lot of exclamation points. And that was an issue I was having with my laptop, which is my whole work life. And my laptop ended up shutting down actually at the beginning of one of these caffeine TV sessions, and it was done. And I lost it for, I think it was 6 days.
It was over a week.
It was catastrophic.
Of a work week, over a work week.
Yeah. And so when the reason this monkey list topic came up is because I had shut down my computer and I took it straight to the Geek Squad. They're fantastic in San Carlos. Thanks, guys. And as they were working on it and getting it all prepped and everything, I went to grab my phone to entertain myself, and I said, "No, you don't get to be." You are bad. You don't get to use your phone and bliss out on your phone. You instead, I always keep my notebook with me, and instead I sat down and I wrote down, I created my monkey list. But I think the thing with monkey lists is it really is the things that are weighing you down. Different than a to-do list, because a to-do list is simply just the things that need to get executed in any given day or week. And it's also different than we talked about in a session like 6 months ago about, unfortunately, how often our to-do lists are created by fires.
Okay.
Right. So my to-do list that particular day that my laptop shut down, what got at the top of the list was you better take your laptop to the Geek Squad so they can fix it because nothing else is getting done. It's that idea. You don't want to live life like that. You don't want to live life and have your life be directed by the fires that need to be put out. You want to be able to have that that structure, that planning, and I think that hitting that point and creating that monkey list allows you to go ahead, identifying what needs to be taken care of, and then get them taken care of prior to.
So one of the things that as I understand it, that identifies an item that may be on a monkey list is that you do have some hesitancy or resistance to attacking that item for whatever reason.
Right.
It's just something that it's an unpleasant activity, either physically, emotionally, mentally, but for whatever reason you really want to procrastinate it.
Yep.
And what is one of the cardinal rules of addressing problems is you address the little problems before they become big problems. And so what can happen if you don't have this monkey list is you know that you should do it, but it's unpleasant, so you put it off and put it off until it becomes a big problem. And by forming this list, it gives you a chance to really focus on addressing them in your own time before they become big problems.
And expensive problems.
And expensive problems, And so there's two aspects, I think, on that. One is they become expensive monetarily. Like when I forgot to change the oil, I procrastinated and changed the oil on my car many years ago and had to put a new engine in when I ruined the engine. Or you end up having to address it on its time rather than your time, as in when you had to go take care of the computer when it broke right away because all your business opportunities shut down, as opposed to saying, oh, my computer's operating a little bit slowly, let's see if I can figure out a way to put this in here and schedule my workload around and do it more reasonably. So there's two aspects that I think are really critical with it.
Yeah, and I think that a part of that too is, this goes back to another conversation we had about financial destiny. I think that a lot of times we just get so used to getting hit upside the head by these instances and we're almost complacent about it. And sometimes it's just that one other thing that puts you over the edge that makes you decide, you know what, I don't want to be that way anymore. And this, to me, there's an element that is very connected to this idea of savvy living, not just about time, not just about money, but about quality of life. Quality of life is not being weighed down by all these things. And it's just, I was never that person that was proactive like that, and man, I just kept getting kicked in the teeth.
It makes a difference. And I think that there's another thing that in a lot of cases, you may not even identify what the items are on your monkey list to get started with. You may just be feeling weighted down. There's all these things I have to do. What are they? Oh, there's just a ton of things I have to do.
That's a good point,
And by actually sitting down and making the list, there's a lot of things that we return to, that there are a lot of common themes we return to in working with clients. And the first thing is make the list. Identify what you're concerned about, identify what your expenses are, and then we'll start looking at how to manage them and how to do that. Identify what your goals are, and then we'll look at how to achieve them. So it's this constant idea of identify the thing first, then start figuring out how to tackle it. So if you're feeling weighed down, especially if you're feeling weighed down and you really don't understand why, take the time, identify that list, and why am I feeling weighed down? Here are the things that I need to do, and then you can start formulating how do I start tackling them and knocking them off the list.
That falls right in line with something that we talked about last week, which was a meme, if you will, poster. I always get them confused. But it was a quote that I posted on our social media, and it was something to the effect of, just start with a one push-up. Just start with paying off that small debt. Just start. That idea of just start. And I think that your monkey list could be absolutely overwhelming, but just pick one thing and start, and then roll with that momentum. But Yeah, and I don't know, there's something about titling it the monkey list that makes it feel a lot less, it's almost, it's almost like an outside perspective versus I've done this to myself. I don't know, it makes me happy to call it a monkey list versus another to-do list or whatever
It
might
sounds
be.
fun. It may not be, but it sounds fun.
It's lipstick on a pig.
But your perception is a big part of the game. So I'm okay with
hugely,
that. I'm okay with that.
yeah. And actually, that goes into another topic that we wanted to touch on today, which is that this idea of living a savvy life. One of the things that I've really been challenged in articulating over the years is that when I try to explain what savvy living is, yes, it's about being purposeful with your time. It's about being purposeful with your money. It's a lifestyle, right? So it's that when we look at how we're spending time and money on food or clothes or whatever that might be, that there's a purposefulness around there. There's an aesthetic to it. And it's been really challenging for me to, again, articulate what that aesthetic is. So I don't know if aesthetic is the right word so much as just this idea of creating your perception of beauty in your life. And that sounds like a really huge concept.
But I think that you hit the key term on it, your perception of beauty.
Yeah. We met on Monday with a wonderful new client, and it was a rare opportunity where we got a chance to meet him in person. And one of the things, I could have just crawled over the table and hugged him, but one of the things that he talked about was how important beauty is to him. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about Excel spreadsheets, and we're talking about budgeting, and we're talking about streamlining spending, that can make people feel a bit turned off about what it is that we're trying to do. But it's that idea that all these things are tools so that you can live and create this life that you want to live. And I'm not explaining it as well as I would like to, but it is a beautiful thing versus this scarcity, this idea of scarcity or this idea of frugality. It's like, oh no, it's creation. Ooh, that's good.
Okay. Good thing we're recording this.
Yes. Back to like carrots and consequences. I got to write it down.
And I you're creating the life that you want to live, and that's different for everybody. So, but it comes down to, again, the concept of being purposeful and making sure that everything that you do fosters that vision of what you want to create. Yeah. And one of the things that we were talking about earlier, clutter is a big factor in today's society and home decorating and everything else, and it's a big factor in what we talk about because clutter, decluttering does not mean minimalism. What it means is getting rid of the things that are not adding value to your life. And if you have a lot of things that add value and you appreciate them, then that's not clutter. A perfect example, my wife and I collect antiques. Our house is
like a museum,
overwhelmingly filled with antiques, and a lot of people who don't do that walk into our house and like Melissa said, it looks like a museum. But I can ask my wife about any piece that we have purchased over the last 20 years, and she can tell me exactly what display case that's in. She knows all that stuff. That's not clutter. That is appreciating and enjoying something that you love and maybe I've gone past love and are fanatical about. But that is not clutter. Clutter is when you can't find the right shirt or the right pair of pants because your wardrobe is a mess. Having 500 pairs of shoes is not clutter if you really love shoes and you take care of them and you know where they are and you can find whichever one you want and that's what you care about. All right? So the whole idea is, the aesthetic is that you are living the life that you want to live and that the things that are important to you are there and the things that are not important to you are removed so they don't get in the way.
They're not only removed, but they create space for more of the things that you want,
or just
more
open
of the
space.
Space, right? Or more of the experiences that you want. The one thing about going into your home that I've always appreciated is that everything is, there's not a speck of dust anywhere. At least you guys are really good about it before I arrive. Everything is in its place. It's either in a display case. So the care for every single one of those pieces is evident that you actually really care about those pieces. To me, that's savvy living.
Yeah.
It's where I get, every once in a while we'll be watching the TV show American Pickers, which I love because I love their passion for history. But they'll pull up to a place where there is just stuff everywhere, and it's not, it's not taken care of. And I get a little twitchy, and my husband laughs at me. And then you go to other places where people have these, storage room after storage room of collections, but they're well cared for. They know what they have, and so again, it's just like you said, it's not minimalism, but it's appreciation for what you have. It's surrounding yourself with only what you truly enjoy. And then the other aspect of it we were talking about earlier is that when you're looking at the aspect of managing your money so that you can live this life, doing it in a perspective of purposefulness rather than, again, scarcity.
Yes.
One of the things that I try very hard to do when I'm talking to clients about tracking their spending or creating a spending plan is doing it from this perspective of enjoyment. And while I understand that it may not be something that people are super excited about, if we can figure out a way to get them to where the process isn't a chore, but there's some aspect of it that they can actually really enjoy, and then when they start to really gain traction on it, they can take and run with. But to me, that is a key piece of this whole process, because if to buy the things you want to buy and do the things you want to do, you have to figure out how to afford it.
Yeah.
And that is a big element of it. And so again, creating the enjoyment of it, that would be, it's not an aesthetic, but it is a emotional response to it.
Right.
Right?
Again, because we're trying to cultivate these good habits and these sustained habits, you don't want them to be a chore. At the very least, you want to understand that this is what I'll call an enabling activity. All right. If I go through my weekly spending, track my spending, and compare that against my spending plan, then that enables me to see where I stand so I can spend the money on the things that give me pleasure.
Right.
If I don't know where I stand financially, then I'm spending with trepidation, or I'm not spending, or I'm overspending, and things go crazy. So it's an enabling activity. I'll be honest, I'm part of the Savvy Life. I don't particularly enjoy balancing, tracking spending and doing all that stuff.
Is it an instrument?
Is
that the term? Yeah.
Means to an end.
Means to an end.
It's a means to an end. Yeah. It's an enabling activity. I do that religiously because I want to make sure that I can spend money on things that I can do. You, on the other hand, really take it as kind of a game.
It is, to me. It is.
And so,
yeah.
So the activity in itself, the benefit and the rewards are also clear. For you, the activity is also somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I don't dislike it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's something that I do so that I go on to. I can spend money on the things that I want to do.
Yeah. When I originally had this idea of the Savvy Life and trying to again figure out how to make it enjoyable, and especially the idea of tracking, what always came to mind is in the Victorian time period, it was very common for the woman of the household. She ran the house, and one of her daily activities was to actually manage the accounts of the house. So mad crazy history buff, as is Kevin. There's much of this Victorian look and feel that I actually really, really love. Would I want to live at that time? Yeah, absolutely not.
People died very young.
People died very young, and women had zero rights. So that is not a time frame for me. Most people that I know.
But the clothes are cool.
But the clothes are cool, and there's something about that putting pen to paper and that precision of calculation that I find very inspiring. So when I'm doing my tracking, I still, after all these years, have that in the back of my head that this is just a part of my day, and this is a part of the management of everything. The other thing that I found very inspiring, and I cannot remember where I read it, but Agatha Christie, the most successful writer of all time, financially more successful than Shakespeare, I believe, she actually, they found her accounts where she still kept her household accounts. And
all longhand,
she did it all longhand.
Ink ledger.
Yeah. Now, granted, she had all different books, very similar to this that she did that in. But there was something that I just loved about it is somebody that there are truly people in this world that would have a difficult time spending all their money. She would be in that category, and yet she still found it for whatever reason worthwhile to go through that process. And I just love that. Yeah. I love that. Figure out how to make it enjoyable. I think that's pretty much the key to happiness.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. There are some things. There's some things that you have to do.
Like 50 burpees right now in my exercise regimen.
And so if you have to do them, you can either grunt and grin and bear it and force your way through it, or you can figure out a way to at least tolerate, if not enjoy it. And if you can enjoy it, then that's one more thing that you're enjoying in life that you're doing on a regular basis. So you might, if you can figure out a way to do that, you might as well.
And once you start to see the outcome of that, the positive outcome of that, you gain that traction. One of the things that I say again and again and again, because it's so true, clients that we will prod maybe a little bit more. We never force anybody to track their spending. That's not going to work, right? But clients that we, in talking with them, realize that they, in order to be successful, that this is something that they need to do, they will resist, understandably. And it's our job to figure out what is the system that's going to make the most sense. What are the habits? Like how do we build this up for them? The ones that resisted the most became the biggest advocates of it, like standing on a desktop, screaming to the sky, advocates of it. And the reason is because it is the first time in their lives that they have control of where their money is going. Because they're tracking it, they have the ability to change instead of just wondering where their money went. They know where their money is going, and if they started to go awry, because they're tracking routinely, they can make different spending decisions to get them back on track to ultimately get that carrot that they really want, to get to Disneyland or whatever it might be. Yeah. So powerful stuff.
Great.
With that, we're getting to the bottom of the hour. So we have actually a very exciting topic that we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah.
I don't know if exciting is the right word, actually, as much as powerful.
I think powerful because I
don't want to oversell it.
I can see some people may not be excited about it. We think it's a really important one. And the other thing that the reason we're excited about it is because we really haven't seen other people talk about it in the way that we think about it, which is true of we tend to think differently than a lot of people. But this is exciting because it is a topic that we really haven't seen out there.
Yeah, and now that we've built it up for a minute, as we are wont to do, both of us, what we're going to be talking about is how so many of us live and spend retroactively. And what I mean by that is that because we're using our credit cards for many reasons, points, whatever it might be, we are constantly paying today for the experiences and the spending that we did yesterday.
Or more accurately, last month.
Last month.
There's a significant time lag between when we experienced it and now when we're paying for it.
And then on top of that, that's if you are able to pay off your credit cards every month. Not everybody is able to do that. It's easy for it to get away. And so then it's even worse if you are paying on debt that you had a year ago or even longer.
It's the age-old, well, I won't say the age-old thing, but it's one that we talk about and a lot of other people talk about, the idea of going on your summer vacation and then you're paying for that summer vacation for the next 8, 9, 10 months until it's time to go on to another summer vacation, and you put that in your credit card, and so you have an experience, and you pay for that experience much later after that experience.
So it's always retroactive versus proactive, and so that's what we're going to be talking about next week with some fun again is not the right word, but just some solutions for that or different thought processes around that to potentially get you on the other side, so you can start anticipating versus looking back.
And bemoaning and feeling that you're doling money out and you're not getting anything for it because all your pleasure and satisfaction happened before. I think that's a good topic.
All right, so that's what we'll be talking about next week.
That will be on, looking at the calendar.
We're looking at our world calendar.
The 25th. It's the 25th. Yes, July 25th.
July 25th, 3 o'clock Pacific time. In the meantime, if you are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe and send this off to anybody that you think would benefit from the information. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and go to our website, thesavvylife.com. We publish an article every single week, and you can sign up for our weekly list.
Yes, which is a weekly newsletter that gives you usually 3 activities to help you live a savvy life, and these are really concrete, actionable activities. There's not a lot of philosophy. It's like, go do this.
Go do this. Just tell me what to do. Go do this.
And then it also includes an article. We publish a new article every week, and I am very proud to say that not only can you sign up for the list on our website, you can sign up for our list now on YouTube. And soon the other, Facebook. On Facebook. Yeah. It's on Facebook. Soon you'll be able to sign up on YouTube and the other social media as well. I'm very slowly throwing away my my Luddite accoutrements and becoming a member of the 21st century.
One of us. All right. Thank you very much for your work on that. All right, everybody. See you next week. Thank you.